Good morning, Rotogrinders. Happy Memorial Day, 11:30 on the East Coast. It's, I think I've learned this, TJ, 9:30 in current TJ time in Canada. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning out there. We're going to be discussing, this is the first of two shows, Rotogrinders. By the way, didn't even get a chance to shave. I don't know if you can tell how gross my face is right now. I'm not that masculine, just like a week or so, but it looks rough. I don't know how close the camera is right now, but unfortunately, not enough time to shave this morning. We'll knock it out for the show later on today. I was thinking about actually, TJ. I don't know if you were watching the shows or you partook in the shows last week. I might just try to grow the power of Nestor Cortez, the power of Matt Carpenter. I might just try I can't really grow much mustache, but I'm curious if nothing else. I want to see what I can do. Have you ever tried growing the old mustache?
I have in November. I've done some November stuff before, sure. but that's about it. I'm like you. I got a bit of a baby face going. I don't really have too much ability to grow a lot of facial hair, but every November we try and give it a shot. I had a little bit going the last few shows, but I actually got rid of it this morning here. But Dean, we got a lot of time, so we got some free time to talk about whatever today. How about them Boston Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Boston. My Miami Heat, they put up a valiant effort, and Jimmy put up an all-timer. All-time series for Jimmy Butler, and I'm not mad at him for shooting the three. Like, people that are upset, like, "Oh, what an idiot for shooting that three!" Like, and they're pointing to like, "Oh, he's not this great three-point shooter." I know that, sure, and like his percentage career-wise and all that kind of stuff, but there's a difference between all of his three-point shots and catching. Getting basically one in transition where you're wide open, like that's a greater chance of going in as opposed to like, your regular run-of-the-mill three, where you're probably going to be challenged in some way. And also Boston's half-court defense was awesome. Like, sure, I suppose he could have tried to drive and taken it on Horford and get fouled or something like that. But like, he earned the right to take that shot, and it wasn't like a bad shot. And you know what it is, TJ? I kind of liken it to in football, when you're on defense, you want the other team to punt, or you want the other team to kick the field goal as opposed to like going for it. That's the last thing. Almost always, like, you don't want them to, you want them to be passive. So like, I think Boston fans were nervous in that half a second that ball was in the air.
I'm with you there, and honestly, the reason I brought it up is I don't even know if you caught any of this show, but we had crunch time over the weekend with me, Dre, and Will, and we ended up going 30 minutes after walk. Just we started going first take mode. I was pretending to be Skip, and Will was giving Stephen A impressions, and we were arguing about the series. Will was saying the Celtics are too inconsistent. I was saying they have a legendary defense and they're gonna pull through. It was a really, really fun show. We were just like messing with each other for about 25 minutes after walk.
Do you know Skip's moved on? I know you're playing a character, you're playing a role. Maybe he's moved on to like Fox or something like that, I believe.
Yeah, he's I don't even remember what his show is called with Shannon, but
so is it something Heard? No, I think that's a Colin Cowherd pun.
Yeah.
Undisputed.
There it is. There it is. Thanks, Steve.
I don't watch these shows. I mean, like I catch like clips like on YouTube and stuff like that, or I catch clips on not YouTube, more so Twitter. Like people will post and like I'll like see JJ Redick like dunking on somebody like once a week, basically. But I generally speaking, I always think like the producer for that show, like you have to script out like 2 hours worth of like you got to have 2 hours worth of hot takes, no matter how interesting the sports world is or isn't. Like right now, it's not hard, but like when nothing is going on, it's like just like baseball and the dog days. Like you got to just like create arguments because what else are you going to do for 2 hours? Just stare at each other. So I think it's a tough job.
I think it'd be fun. That's kind of in my wheelhouse. I think I'd have a good time with that. For anybody building lineups on today's slate, though, I know we got a little bit of an issue with Lineup HQ right now, uploading the lineups into Lineup HQ. So everything's working fine, except the lineups just haven't updated properly in there. So if you want to see the lineups that are out, head over to the MLB lineups page over on RG, and you'll be good to go to see them there. And we got a tiny little slate over on Fanduel, our sponsor, and then it's a little bit bigger over on DK. I know we were talking before the show, you didn't get up quite early enough, so you didn't get in any of those FD contests, but there were some good ones earlier on that people rushed to real quick. A 10K to first with 555. So we still got some fun over there as well, and it's early in the morning, so I think we only got like 50 people watching right now. So if we hit 20 likes, we got the Spidey bum coming today.
Yeah, people in America are firing up the grills. It's a big day for barbecuing. I don't know if or when that's going down. I know Ross not going to be on in the back half of this. There's going to be crunch time. You're going to get TheLuuch. You're going to get Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. They're going to be jumping in around 12:30 or so. Standard crunch time. Take you guys up the lock. And like it is important to mention, like you said, FanDuel, it's just a 3-game slate. It's a baby slate. Milwaukee, Chicago, San Diego, St. Louis, Minnesota, Detroit, the 3 games that, 2 games at 1 game at 2 o'clock, and then DK is giving us a 6-gamer. And I think some of their stuff is sold out as well, too, because at least when I can tell, the biggest contest, well, let's see, the 444 is still live. There's still about 50 spots waiting to be claimed for there. Their rally's got $15 to jump in, 30K total prize pool. That's about half full. Basically, if you want to play, hopefully you've already like reserved some spots in some contests. FanDuel still has I think a 10K tournament, one of those like 555, right? Is that still no actually, let's see, is that or is it like one of those things where like 2 people canceled? Yeah, okay, it's like 1 person canceled, 1 person take that spot up. So that's the mustard squeeze. You get what's going on there. The mustard squeeze has just sold out on FanDuel as well. So the back half of that is 10K prize pool, 555, 20% up top, 2K to first place if you bake that one. But yeah, like you said, we do have plenty of time to talk it all out. Do want to say what's up to y'all watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button, do subscribe. Ask whatever's on your mind. We're happy to talk about whatever. Like TJ says, we can take our time here, man. We got 55 minutes to knock it all out. See some questions in chat. Brian's asking about those Spidey bombs already. Is Spidey even up this early? He's got to sleep at some point, right?
Spidey doesn't sleep. It's part of the radioactive spider that bit him allows him a little bit extra energy. He doesn't quite need those 8 hours. So he's here. He's ready to roll. I saw somebody bringing up in chat the other day. Maybe is it time to retire the Spidey bomb and bring in somebody else? But we simply I don't think we can do it. The percentage is too high. Like even the fails. We had Francisco Lindor the other day that I was on, and he didn't hit a home run, but he had 3 hits, including a triple, a couple stolen bases, some runs batted in, he scored some runs himself. So even when the Spidey bombs don't hit, they do well. So the Goku Spirit Bomb, it's 0 for 3, but Spidey bombs, this got to be one of the best home run calls in the industry, I think.
Are we going to retire? Is that a small sample size as far as Goku, or is he going to keep on going? Is it one more shot or what?
Maybe we'll give him one more when we're on a bigger show, but for right now, I think we'll stick with Spidey.
Who's waiting? Like who's waiting in the wings to take his spot? Do we know?
I mean, I don't know. If you look around, we do have our choice. we got our choice of anime characters here. We got our Marvel ones right here. You can't see all the DC ones back here, but they're all around. So we do have our choice of the litter.
I think I see Captain America. I feel like I saw the Hulk. I saw a green guy. Was that the Hulk? I believe so.
Oh yeah, we got everyone.
And there's a dog lurking. The dog's got like a Star Wars pun, right? A Star Wars name of some sort.
Yeah, that's Obi-Wan right there. I got 2 dogs, Obi-Wan and Sonic, and then I have a cat, Shadow, as well.
Is Shadow a reference to some sort of comic hero I'm not aware of?
He actually is kind of a foil for Sonic the Hedgehog. He's Shadow the Hedgehog.
I thought that was Tails.
Tails is his like little sidekick friend.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What else? They're asking about, do I take cream and sugar with my coffee or straight up? I'm not a big coffee guy. I like the Starbucks nonsense. They throw all the frills in there. Like, if you want to throw in the caramel and anything like to mask the fact that it's coffee. You a big coffee guy?
Not really a big coffee guy. I gotta say though, like we're getting some fun. We get some fun chats in these morning shows. Somebody said getting some 40-year-old virgin vibes. Now I gotta say I'm used to having my interests made fun of, but 40 years old. I'm 28. I just shaved today. Like, come on.
Have you seen the movie though? It's a reference to one of the.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of like what it is.
I'm saying I'm not there yet though. Even if that were the case, I'd have time. Come on.
Yeah, sure. You're gonna. Do you have a lady friend that wants you to put all this stuff on eBay?
No, I'm engaged, and my fiance, she loves all this stuff as much as I do. We watch all of it together. She's a cosplayer. We have some good times. There
you go. Well, you know what? You're compatible, as far as I can tell. That's important, right? I feel like that's an underrated thing to have a mate that you gotta be remote compatible. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's like you don't always have to have the same interests and everything, but it's you gotta have your ways to connect.
So we have a 3-gamer on Fanduel, 6-gamer on DK. DK includes the 405 games. We have Marlins at the Rockies. There's some pitchers on this slate that I've never heard of when we were talking about a pre-show.
We have a win game in Wrigley where it's super hot with the wind blowing out, as good of temperatures and baseball weather as you could imagine. And it's 2 pitchers who have never thrown a pitch in the MLB, I don't think. They haven't in the last 2 years. We got no data on plate IQ. I don't think these guys have ever pitched before in Major League Baseball.
You think they're going to do well in like 30-mile-an-hour winds in Chicago, whatever? So the 11.5 as far as the total, one of these is like not like the rest of them. The Colorado one's pretty high too, at 10.5. Ryan Feltner versus the Marlins. Pablo Lopez, a really good baseball pitcher. And then we have Framber Valdez. We'll talk about him in a second. His completely insane ground ball rate it continues. It's not as absurd as it was earlier in the year. But do you know what you want to take a shot at Framber Valdez's current fly ball rate on the season?
9%.
It's not 9. He cracked double digits.
That's what it was before. Dang.
Yeah, it was insane. But still 11.4% for Framber Valdez. And he's facing Oakland. So, a pretty inept offense, obviously. Framber, he looks like a pretty solid pitcher. I'm pulling up the bat now. Derek Carty's the bat, and to no surprise, Framber Valdez is the number 1 pitcher on the slate. Whew, he's got a greater projection than everybody else by at least 6 points. And get the bat from Derek Carty. Go ahead and feel free to check that out. Behind that, of course, is Dylan Bundy, Kyle Gibson. There goes my alarm. I never turned my phone off. All right. Yeah. So let's break down this. And again, we'll try and do our best to cover both Fanduel and on DK. Hopefully you're playing on Fanduel. Hopefully you already reserved some spots. There are some contests there, but their big boy contests are pretty much sold out. But again, 2 different slates. Fanduel does not. They're breaking it up, and you can do it. If you miss the Fanduel stuff, you can get there. I think it's a 3-game slate for them later, right? 4:00. I think that's what they're doing. 3 and 3 as opposed to 6.
Yeah.
Is that what you see?
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And actually, that's a good point. Maybe I want to. Maybe it's time for me to look and enter some of these contests for the afternoon slate now before I miss out on them.
They got the relish squeeze. See what they're doing there. the relish squeeze at the, well, wait, fade relish. You like relish? Don't like relish.
No, I'm not a relish guy.
You like those ketchup potato chips? Is that it's a stereotypical question to ask?
No, honestly, no, I don't get that often. They are big here, but honestly, like they don't taste like ketchup. That's kind of a misconception. They taste far better than ketchup does, but they're pretty tasty. I liked them a lot when I was a kid, but I'm honestly not a big chips guy now. Like chips and pop are two things that I kind of migrate away from. I got a slow metabolisms, and if I'm having a treat, I go elsewhere. If I'm having a drink, I like something like a Powerade instead of a pop. And
you're a Powerade guy over Gatorade?
For sports, Gatorade. For just like having a drink, I'd rather Powerade. Powerade has more sugar and less salt, tastes a little bit better, not as good for sports. Gatorade, it's a little bit better for actually hydrating you during the sport. So if I'm doing some activity, it's Gatorade. If I'm just hanging out and wanting a nice drink, it's Powerade.
Devin in chat, producer Devin says, yeah, him and his wife, they play Call of Duty together. That could be fun. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, it's important to have interests that are similar. So yeah, if you want to jump in that relish squeeze, that's kind of their big boy stuff at 4:00 on FanDuel, 25K, 444 to jump in there if you want to MME that one. 20% up top, 5K. Oh, you said pop. Is that in America? Like soda. It's regional. Some people say pop, depending on where you're at. Like if you're in the Midwest, you might say pop. Yeah,
it's pop.
Some would say soda. Some would just they call it a Coke, even though it's not necessarily Coke. Is that Canada as well, or it's pop across the board?
I think it's pop across the board. You might get some people who say soda every now and then, but it's mostly pop across the board.
All right. Well, let's give a slate overview because clearly on DK. Well, you have the Colorado game. You got the Marlins facing Ryan Feltner. We don't have an official lineup yet for the Marlins. I presume we're going to get the standard big boys as far as Soler and Jazz and Aguilar power bats. We're projecting Birdie at the top for what it's worth. I love that Williams Estudio is back in our lives. He's one of my favorite hitters. La Tortuga just doesn't walk and doesn't strike out. Just a fun little hitter. He's not great, but he's just like
fun little hitter.
Well, okay, husky. Well, he's kind of a husky. Husky, yeah, sure. He's on the Team Girth team, like him and Daniel Vogelbach. They're in the same email chain. They're probably boys. And then of course we have the wind game in Chicago. We should turn up the old weather edge. I was taking a peek at it earlier today. Let's see if it's changed. When I say earlier today, I mean like 25 minutes ago. But gonna give it a refresh. 26 game sample. Let's see if this. Yeah, we got the fire emoji, right? 26 game sample, and we've seen a similar weather game in Wrigley. 26 game sample, winds blowing out 90 miles per hour to left center field, 87 as far as the temperature is pretty hot. Obviously, we've seen a bump in homers at 45%, a bump in runs at 20%, and an increase in ERA 22%. That all sort of checks out. We got a fire emoji in Philadelphia for what it's worth. 72 games there as far as the sample, 89 degrees, heating up. Afternoon, 11 miles an hour, basically the dead center, 34% as far as bump and homers. Even Oakland's big old sample, big boy sample in Oakland, 175 games, 60% bump and homers. Colorado, for what it's worth, not seeing a bump, but it is Colorado, so you're starting at a different point. A slight downgrade in homers at 4%, upgrade in runs at 10%. Sample at 45 games, not necessarily huge, but yeah, so how much is weather dictating, or the heat, I should say, specifically as far as weather, how much is that dictating your lineup process?
A decent amount, but I mean, it's also based on, we have two pitchers who have never pitched in baseball before in this game. And so especially on FanDuel, where we got only 3 games, this one is just far, far and away the top option. And like, yes, it's going to be very highly owned as well, but the biggest thing I'm trying to figure out right now is I can only play 3 of Rowdy Tellez, Wilson Contreras, and Frank Schwindel. And so I'm trying to, my current process is trying to figure out which 2 of those 3 I'm going to be going with, because Schwindel lost his outfield eligibility on FanDuel. So he's only first base. And so I'm stuck choosing between those 3 right now. So I'm doing some building there, sorting that stuff out. But to me, I think I got to go full stacks. I think I'm going to be going a full stack of this game, maybe mixing in some Byron Buxton or something like that. But it's really looking like a Wrigley game stacked day for me.
I'm not sure if you've heard, but Byron Buxton is cold. Some people think you can't roster a player when they're cold. I guess you're not concerned. You still think he's still good? He knows that at baseball, he can hit baseball still. He's not lost that ability.
So a week ago, you said to me, TJ, what's going on with the Blue Jays? Why can't they get any hits? I don't think they've scored less than like 6 runs in a game since then. That's just baseball. It happens. Byron Buxton is a high strikeout guy with a ton of power, a ton of speed. He's going to have 0 points or 3 points for a week or 2 straight. And then he's going to have 20 plus fantasy points for a week or 2 straight. That's just how it works.
So what do we know about these pitchers throwing baseballs in Wrigley today? Matt Swarmer, I just pulled him up on the old Fangraphs, 28 years old. So I assume he's no longer a prospect. I don't see him anywhere in the prospect rankings. Throwing baseballs against Ethan Small. And maybe we can learn about these guys on the fly, unless you can enlighten me. What do you know about Ethan Small, who's throwing baseballs for Milwaukee, and Matt Swarmer, who's throwing baseballs for the Cubbies?
I don't know a lot. I think I want to say maybe Small is a bit of a prospect for Milwaukee, but I honestly don't know. I was expecting it to be Ashby this entire morning that
Same.
I was doing my research. And so this was sprung on me a little bit. And so the closest thing I have to any knowledge on him is seeing that he's 4K on DK. And Bime4 has a little green tag on lineup HQ beside his name. So that's really all I know about him. But I'm kind of hoping as I rattle on here throughout this that you've potentially pulled up his fan graphs. And
I did.
Maybe good. Perfect.
I'll relieve you. So Ethan Small, 25 years old. Team rank, according to Fangraphs rankings, is 6th as far as the prospects. Former first rounder, 28th pick overall. I'm just curious if these guys are stretched out and ready to go. Well, that doesn't matter, right? Because we're not rostering them. I don't think look, I'm not rostering. Well, he's 4K. If you want to make that argument.
You can roster anyone who's 4K.
Yeah, sure. Obviously the pitching environment's pretty terrible, but okay. But he does seem to be a bit of a prospect, more so than Matt Swarmer. Let's pull up his minor league numbers and see if he's done anything interesting this year. AAA this year, 38 innings, Ks per 9, 11.5. 5 walks per 9 seems like too many. He's got a good ground ball rate. Give that 56% ground ball rate. That's pretty solid. He's been lucky as far as throwing the fly ball at 4.5%. The ERA is 188, which is really good. Under the hood, xFIP is 372. The FIP is 312. So still, obviously not as good, but still pretty solid. But, those are against AAA players as well.
Did you say he was a ground ball guy?
Yeah, 56% ground balls.
56%.
Which is, that's pretty solid.
So maybe I'm looking to get some Chicago guys who hit fly balls today.
And
which is the whole top 4.
So he is stretched out too. He went 6 innings on the 24th. He went 5 innings on the 12th. And this isn't, just want to make sure, this is not an opener situation, right? It's he's just the starter, and that's that.
Yeah, so based on that, I think if you're playing a few lineups on DK, he's 4K. I think you can get him in the pool if you're trying to pay up for the Coors Field game, stuff like that. I don't think he'd be my top option, but I definitely think it's interesting because it's not like we have that strong of a pitching pool today.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a slate, right, where the bats just win this slate, especially on DK, where you're including the game in Philadelphia, you're including the game in Coors. It feels like a bat slate. Is that pretty reasonable to say?
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's kind of ugly. So I think I'd love to say, I think we just pivot off the chalk and see what happens. But I do love this win game we have. We also have great weather in Philly. We have Coors Field game with one poor pitcher in it. So yeah, I definitely think there are some ways that we can get a little bit different while still embracing some of the good chalk.
So last night when I was setting my stuff and I was looking at the slate, I thought Ashby was the guy. And now I believe this is the front half of a doubleheader, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a second game going down later tonight. Okay. Ashby's pitching the night game. Interesting. All right. Night game currently 10.5 as far as the total. So it's a day-night doubleheader. All right. And I pulled up Dave Potts, Cheese's article, and he does mention like it basically says he's like willing to play some Ethan Small because as an SP2, just because he's 4K, right? Let's talk about how much we like Frambar. Like how much are we locking him in? Of course, Frambar not available on FanDuel. He's playing at 4:00. DK's got that 6-game slate. Awesome matchup against Oakland. Valdez, pretty big favorite, minus 176 for what it's worth. If you want any old win equity, I think that might be the biggest favorite on the board. Yes, Minnesota minus 159 for what it's worth against Bo Brisky. And Dylan Bundy, probably the second best pitcher we'll talk about in a second. And of course, Bundy is available on both FanDuel and on DK. But how much do we like Frambar? Because I think he's pretty clearly the best pitcher on DK.
Yeah, I think he's far and away the best option. Like, to me personally, I think even if I was running 150, I would debate even just locking him in. You get the fun added upside of him being at the latest game. You always kind of got that to fall back on. But in addition, he's underpriced. He's playing in Oakland. So this is a guy that doesn't give up fly balls. And even if he does, they're probably not going to go out of the park because it's Oakland. And so, yeah, I like Valdez quite a bit. And I'd like realistically, I'd have a tough time not locking him in if I was playing, no matter how many lineups I was playing on DK.
Does the bat give like the number like home runs you're expected to give up? I'm just thinking like, what are the odds he gives up a homer? Because he doesn't give up home runs as is. And now he's in Oakland, and that ballpark is obviously suppressing home runs, and that lineup suppresses home runs too. What are the odds? Like, would you lay like 3 or 4 to 1 that he doesn't homer? I mean, doesn't give up a homer. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it feels like he's just not going to give up a home run. Like, he certainly can. It's possible,
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like they're good odds, and if there is an argument against that, I was playing a little bit of MLB The Show last night, and I had a game in Oakland, and I kind of realized that like it's a big ballpark. However, that left side of the wall for right-handed batters isn't that deep. I think it's only like 330 right beside the foul pole. So we got a left-handed pitcher, a ton of right-handed batters, and Valdez doesn't really. So I'm trying to essentially make the case against Valdez now. Valdez this year, in the last 2 years, he's got a 19% strikeout rate against right-handed batters. This year, it's a 17.9% strikeout rate against right-handed batters. He'll probably see all 9 right-handed batters today. Maybe he'll see Seth Brown, but like as we have it projected right now, it's all 9 right-handed batters. Now, they aren't very good right-handed batters, and a lot of them do strike out a lot, but you still have Laureano, Lowry, Pinder, Murphy, Betancourt, Andrus in your projected top 6, who all have over 20% line drive rates to left-handed pitchers in the last 2 years. So if there's an argument against him, he's probably not going to strike that many people out. He doesn't have a high strikeout rate against right-handed batters, and he's only going to face right-handed batters. So for a reason to fade, there's that, but this is still Oakland in Oakland, and he's way underpriced. So like for safety, there's no one better. But if you want to try and pivot off of him, you better be targeting some strikeouts.
Nobody's got a longer leash than him either. By the way, I did pull it up in the bat, and like, what did I say? 3 or 4 to 1. His projected home runs to give up today, right, to yield 0.26, which is the lowest on the slate. Like you can't project like 1 or 2 or 0. Like that's not how projections work. There's going to be decimal points. And like as an example, let's see, like Bo Brisky's projected to give 0.9. Spiley 1.33 pitches later, but just to that point, Bundy at 0.62. It's well below everybody else. 0.26, 0.43 for Strider for Atlanta, who, by the way, looks awesome for the night slate. Like if they just let him go, I don't know if you've gone that far, but Strider has looked excellent so far in the majors. His K rate's incredible, but he's only threw like 45 pitches his last time out, and they're turning him into a starter. If you're in like a season-long league, I may be bidding on. I'm in the Rotogrinders season-long league. I'm going to bid on Strider. I think he's going to be a staple in this Atlanta rotation. They call it their top 2 prospects. Thomas and Strider looks pretty good. All right.
I want to take back what I said before about the locking Valdez in no matter how many lineups I was playing.
Yeah.
I feel differently about that the more I look into it for tournaments, just based on you can pay the two chalkiest pitchers on the slate today. The projected XP 1 and 2 are Framber Valdez and Logan Webb. You're going to get 100% ownership combined between the two of them, and it's 16.6 total salary to do it. The next most popular build will be double pay up, Dylan Bundy and Framber Valdez. You're overlooking at over 100% ownership again, 18.2K total salary between the two of them. Now, I know Pablo Lopez is in Coors Field, but he is still a very good pitcher who has only had one bad game this entire year. Ethan Small's a solid prospect who keeps the ball on the ground at 4K. That's only 14.1 K salary between the two of them. And you're probably going to get like under 15% ownership between the two of them combined. So I think there are actually some interesting ways you can pivot in tournaments, because this is a small slate, and Valdez, you're not expecting him. You're not fading him because you think he could get blown up, but you're fading him hoping that he goes 6 innings and gets 2 strikeouts. Whereas Logan Webb and Dylan Bundy is probably my favorite option to go to between them. I'd rather pay up for Bundy than pay down for Webb, just because of that weather in Philly and the power in their offense. But while Webb projects as a solid play and he's a good pitcher, he's a good strikeout pitcher, I definitely think he's an interesting fade at high ownership as well, because of the power that Philly has.
By the way, just worth noting, these prices for Milwaukee, man, they are making it very hard not to play them, outside of the fact it's baseball and goofy things happen. But you mentioned Rowdy Tellez is 3.8 or is that 3.6 on DK?
That's ridiculous.
Taylor 3.1. That guy puts the ball in the air, it's gone. Kiston Hira, I know he's like been massively disappointing, but 2.9K. Wong at 3.7 leading off. Yelich at 4.8. Yeah, wait, it's not 4.8 though, right? Okay, so I'm looking at the wrong price because I'm looking at DK and it's 5K.
Yeah, Yelich is 5K on DK.
Okay, so I'm looking at our lineups page and something's goofy, something's throwing it off, or I don't know where.
Yeah, the prices are the lineups on our lineup page currently are correct, but the prices are wrong, both for FanDuel and DraftKings. If you go to lineup HQ right now, the prices are correct, but the lineups aren't updating. So there's some kind of wonky thing between the two of them. But if you refer back to both, you got the right prices on lineup HQ, and you have the right lineup order on the lineups page.
Yeah, do appreciate y'all dealing with that, and obviously somebody's working on it. Hopefully it'll get fixed shortly. But I now have DK pulled up directly to make it easier. But Yelich is 5K, was right about. So some of them are correct, some of them aren't, I guess. Tellez is 3.6, like you kind of referenced him before. It's just like, what a strong play here. He's got power as is, and the Wrigley wind only enhances how appealing he happens to be. Urias at 4.7 is whatever, but Wong is 3.8, batting first, which seems like a really good price, obviously. Navarro's got a roster of catcher there on DK, 2.8K. You mentioned Webb, by the way. I don't necessarily want to pick on Philadelphia a ton. And, obviously we have the red emoji, the fire emoji in Philadelphia. Great weather for hitting there as well. Do you think Webb is the second best pitcher? Because I think what I'm seeing, Bundy against Detroit looks like a much cleaner route to fantasy points for me.
Yeah, it's a much cleaner route. I agree with you, but it's also $2,000 more expensive. And so that's kind of why I think more people are going to end up going to Webb than Bundy. But I do think it's going to be pretty close. I think they're both going to be around 30-ish%. And that's there. But I think it's definitely interesting to the other reason I think that, so it's I'm kind of building lineups by hand on DK. I'm not playing on DK today, but I just was sort of looking around. You can do, if you build a full 5-man Milwaukee stack with the top 5 in the order, and then you fill it in with your Chicago guys and go 5-3 there, it leaves you a perfect amount of money to go Valdez and Logan Webb there. So I do think that'll kind of be the chalkiest, most duped build will be your 5-3 Chicago Milwaukee with those two guys there. But I think it's interesting to note as well that with that same lineup, 5 Milwaukee guys and 3 Chicago guys, if I plug in Pablo Lopez here, then it does leave me room for Kyle Gibson as my SP2 as well. So that's kind of a different off the board route that you could do it. But I think the tournament pitchers I'm most interested in on DK today, Kyle Gibson's picking up ownership, Webb's picking up ownership, but Bundy's picking up ownership. Of those 3, I like Bundy the best. But I definitely think it's very interesting going to guys like Ethan Small, Nick Martinez, and Pablo Lopez in tournaments as well.
I did lock in, just for fun, just kind of see what I can come up with here. I locked in Bundy and Valdez, and you're just, and I ran it in an optimizer, like 45 lineups or so. And I put caps on guys, and hitting the cap is Yelich and Tellez and Contreras. Like, you could play Bundy and Valdez and stack that Wrigley game so easy, is just kind of the point. And other people are seeing that as well, obviously. As a general thought, which ballpark do you like better today as far as the hitters? You like Coors, you like Wrigley?
Honestly, so this is something I believe we can see in the bat, correct? Like, they have the ballpark ratings with the weather factored in and stuff like that. But honestly, today I would pick Chicago over the Rockies, just because of the pitchers. And then it's just like, it's bonkers, the heat that we have there right now. It's wind blowing out. It's super hot. Like, that is as good of Chicago weather you're ever going to see.
Yeah, basically a triple threat. The 20 mile per hour as far as wind blowing out the left center field. We got that red fire emoji. It's a 26 game sample. But again, if you guys are just joining us, 45% bump in home runs in the previous sample. And that's going to leave, the Cardinals, like, nobody's really going to play the Cardinals on a 6 game slate. I mean, on FanDuel, of course, it's a 3 game slate, different conversation. It's hard to hide on a 3 game slate. People aren't really going to play Detroit, Minnesota, we kind of talked about. Buxton always basically gets played to some degree. And then Philadelphia with positive hitting environment. And if people are going to be rostering Webb, some people call that leverage as well. No lineup just yet for Philadelphia. 4 o'clock game. That's no surprise. Still 5 hours out there. But I presume all the boppers will be in, platoon advantage for Schwarber and Harper specifically. It feels like, if you're MMEing, that you should obviously get some shares of these teams as well. Just a 4.75 team total. We're looking at basically a coin toss in that game. Webb versus Gibson. Do you have a favorite team as of right now as far as a preference, a pivot away from Wrigley, a pivot away from the Coors game, which, by the way, I don't know how much I love the Colorado side. I just think Lopez is good. It's a general thought, like, he's a good pitcher, and I don't really love the Rockies offense. Of course, they can do things. But give me your pivot, your favorite hitting pivot away from the chalk hitters.
So it's interesting, because the reason I actually have a little bit of difficulty with this is outside of Coors, outside of Wrigley, my 5th favorite stack probably, and maybe 4th favorite, because I like them better than Colorado. I'm with you there. My 4th favorite stack is Minnesota. The thing with that, though, is Minnesota's picking up. And so this is a little bit different on DK and FanDuel. So on DK, the answer is Minnesota. My favorite pivot outside of those 2 games is Minnesota. On FanDuel, I don't think Minnesota is going to be any less chalky than Wrigley. And so because of that, like, they're facing a bad pitcher as well, and they're in a very good spot. And so I actually don't think they're going to be any less owned than the Wrigley games. So I'm a little bit less worried about the pivot there. On DK.
Why do you think that, by the way? Just because they have the money for it and they're cheap and the matchup's good and all that?
Yeah, like the matchup's good, and people will just naturally want to spend that money. Like, if you have the option to go between Tyrone Taylor and Byron Buxton, you're probably going to go Byron Buxton.
Yeah.
And so just based on that, and like, you have Correa is the most expensive best guy up top. You have Polanco at short. You have Polanco up top at second. or just under Edman, that is. So like I think people are going to want to spend that salary and go there. And so I actually think leaving salary on the table and just sticking with that Wrigley game could be more different than going up top to Minnesota. But the other team on DK that I'd want to touch on quick would be both Philadelphia and San Francisco. Kyle Gibson can get blown up or have good games. Logan Webb is a very good pitcher, but the Phillies are a great offense. And it's San Fran going to a much less pitcher-friendly park in very good weather. So I don't mind targeting that weather game as well, actually.
Yeah, basically every single game for San Francisco is an upgrade for the bats. And, you know, it's a pretty good hitting environment as is, and it certainly gets an upgrade with the heat that's going on, the weather that's going on in Philadelphia today as well. What I was going to ask you is like looking at FanDuel, so the Milwaukee and Chicago pitchers are not in the player pool, as far as I can tell. It's a 3-game slate, so we're down to 4 pitchers, one of which is named Packy Naughton. The other one is named Bo Brisky. Nick Martinez is 8.3K, Bundy 7.5K. Like again, all our stuff is kind of wonky right now. We're working on as far as lineup HQ, but I would imagine my brain tells me that Dylan Bundy is going to be like 65% owned here. it's gonna be a crazy number, right?
I'm gonna take the over.
Okay, so I'm not insane to say, because people aren't playing Packy, and it's still kind of a pickup. He's 7.5K. You got essentially 3-4-ish per stick. It's basically a pick'em on FanDuel.
Yeah, like, which is crazy, just because I guess that's showing quite a bit of respect to the Cardinals lineup there. But like when you look at it, like this should be a decently high scoring game as well. Or sorry, not the Cardinals. I meant the Twins. Pick 'em lineup. Packy Naughton K. So yes, in that Nick Martinez, Packy Naughton, Padres, Cardinals. Sorry about that. I got confused for a little.
No worries, you're good.
But yeah, like this should be a decently high scoring game. The top of I wouldn't want to play Naughton just based on because the top of the Padres lineup is really good. You got Machado back in the lineup today. I think Machado was a fantastic play on the Padres side. That's someone that might not pick up a lot of ownership, and he's back in the lineup. He missed a couple games. I think that's a great play, but on FanDuel, it's legitimately going to be, I think, 75% Dylan Bundy ownership and 25% Nick Martinez ownership.
If you're making 100 lineups theoretically, like how would you delegate your pitching ownership? Is that kind of would you follow that lead and just sort of make up the difference in bats? Because the pitching, as the question always is, like, okay, if you're deciding to fade this guy, 70% Bundy, like, that's outrageous. Okay, who are you going to play? Like, what is the pivot? Follow-up question.
Geez, I probably would lock him. I think I'd go 100 Bundy today.
That's wild. I mean, like, I understand why. It's
like Nick Martinez is a decent pitcher, but he's been reverse splitsy in the limited sample size that he's kind of shown so far. So Goldschmidt, Arenado, Yepes, like that middle of the order just scares me quite a bit. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't lock him. Maybe I'd go kind of like I said, 75-25. But like I looked at this slate last night when it came out, and I liked the $5 contest with 10K to first. It was decent player prize pool, and I saw it was filling up quick, but I chose not to 150 just because this was just a disgusting slate to do it on. So I'm only running one lineup today just because I found it easier to make one that I liked as opposed to try and figure out what to do for 150 today, because it's just a really gross slate to do it on.
If you're going to be a reverse splitsy, one of the worst offenses to face when you're reverse splitsy and a righty is St. Louis. Just as they hit the ball. They hit the ball pretty hard. They don't strike out, obviously. Like you said, Martinez dating back to last season, 24.6% as far as Ks, too many walks, almost 11%. But the strikeouts versus lefty, 29%, pretty solid. 20% versus righties, not as good. And you look at the isolated power, it jumps off the table as far as versus righties, 224, not well positioned. And feel free to roster those righties against Martinez. They are leading off. I guess the Cardinals advanced analytics department is taking a nap, or they just don't care about these such things in the organization. But they are leading off with 2 lefties for what it's worth, Edman and switch hitter and Edman, but they'll be hitting on the left side. Gorman, Goldie, Arenado, Yepes. We got Albert Pujols, Yadier, Donovan, and Bader in the lineup there for St. Louis today. Just sort of throwing that out there. I don't know. It's funny. We're just kind of having like a good slate overview conversation. And, in about 15 minutes or so, you're going to have Dave Potts and TheLuuch talking about, they'll go around the horn, give out their favorite plays position by position. And we can do that too. But it's funny. Like, I feel like we have time to do that. Is that what we should do with our time? Should we delegate it elsewhere? What do you want to do as far as these last 15 minutes or so? If there's any questions in chat, feel free to fire them off. And again, we're taking you guys straight up to lock. We're handing the ball off to Dave Potts and Luuch in about 15 minutes or so. But what do you want to do? What's the smart idea? Should we go around the horn? Do the people want to hear that?
So as we speak, I'm kind of building to try and see what my makeshift cash game lineup would look like. On
DK or Fanduel?
On DK. So that I can kind of give a brief my brief thoughts there and how I would go in my favorite spots. But I like the general strategy stuff that we've been doing. I think that's more beneficial considering we have Cheese coming up on the next show, and like Cheese will dive down position by position. He'll give everyone the best plays, and they don't always have the time on crunch time to give the big overviews about strategy and such. So I like that we're doing this, especially on a small slate. We did just
not to cut you off, but Minnesota lineup is out. There's no Buxton.
You cut me off. I was saying we got a Twins lineup, and you cut me off to tell me about the Twins lineup as I was saying the Twins lineup.
My apologies. Go ahead, continue.
That's all good. We got Arias, Garlic, Polanco, Gary Sanchez, Larnack, Urshela, Miranda, Gordon, Jeffers.
It's a rough one.
Oof.
Lewis went on the IL yesterday. Their prospect Lewis got hurt. He's on the IL. Just if you're wondering where he is.
So we have no Correa. We have no Buxton.
They're at the barbecue, man. They're hanging out, having a couple drinks. Yeah. Not a good Minnesota lineup.
I feel like we're missing somebody else pretty big in there too. We have no Correa. We have no Buxton. No, that's basically it. So can you play Brisky in a tournament now?
Oh boy, Bill Brasky. I mean, like on FanDuel, you only have to beat 3 other guys. It's not even like how good are you? It's like how bad is everybody else, right? And of course, the projection.
He's gone. He's only gone. He's just bad though. He's only gone under. He's only gone under 5 innings one time this year.
I mean, look, how many lineups do you have to make until you roll out Brisky? Like, of course, you don't need the salary. You're talking about raw points. The salary doesn't matter.
If I was running 150, I think he'd be in my pool now.
How much would you be willing to leave on the table on FanDuel? Like 2K? 2,500?
You basically have
3,000?
Like, yeah, it's honestly. Jeez. I'm looking at my lineup that I have right now. And so it's bang, 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 bang. So I can't put a Milwaukee player because I already got 4. The lineup I'm looking right now has 3K on the table.
Yeah. Like, it's funny. I'm going to run an optimal. I'm curious. And I'm going to take Buxton out because he's probably not removing the player pool just yet. And like optimals are probably giving that much of a difference in price as well. In a salary left over because there's nowhere to spend it, right?
Well, the funny thing is too, is like the 3 best projected offenses on FanDuel are Chicago, Milwaukee, and Minnesota. Sorry, Milwaukee first, then Chicago, then Minnesota. No Buxton, no Ian Happ, no Max Kepler, no Hunter Renfroe, no Seiya Suzuki, no Andrew McCutchen. How do you fill the outfield? Like, how? So the interesting thing is here is like I'm realizing now like I have to sacrifice Colton Wong or Luis Arias because I need to get Tyrone Taylor in this lineup just to get somebody that I don't hate in my lineup unless I want to go a one-off here with maybe Yepes or somebody like that, which now that I think about it is actually kind of interesting.
I just made a bunch of optimals on 55 optimals, 100% Yelich, 100% Bundy, 95% Tellez. The first one, as far as the total salary, number one, 33.5. Number two, 33.1, 34. Salary means nothing on Fanduel is basically the moral of the story.
It's literally irrelevant. Do not look at it at all today. The two lineups I'm looking at right now, making for myself, the ones I'm torn between have 1,900 and 2,100.
What about the Marlins, by the way, on DK? We haven't really touched on them. We kind of talked about Coors and just a vague sort of thought, but we have no lineup just yet. But in theory, they're going to run out their top guys. How do you feel about Miami? Where do they kind of compare with what's going on at Wrigley? We talked about in Philadelphia as well. How are they in the mix?
Miami to me is on the same tier as the two Wrigley teams. Do we have their lineup yet? No, we don't. So Jazz Chisholm and Jorge Soler are two of the very top plays on the slate. John Birdie, if he leads off again, he's still way too cheap. You can play him at second or third on DK. I think he is a very good play as well, but they're not really priced up for Coors that much. Garrett Cooper 3,700, John Birdie 32, Aguiar's 44. These guys are all in great spots, and Jazz Chisholm, I think, is arguably the best play on the slate.
Yeah,
he's at second base. He's only 5,300. That's way too cheap. You don't have Buxton in the outfield anymore on DK either. So Jorge Soler is going to pick up even more ownership. So they're going to be very chalky. If you're playing Valdez and Bundy with Miami, don't expect to be different than the field, because you're going to have a lot of people making that build today. But I think if you're not considering ownership, they're absolutely top tier. With ownership, you got to bump them down a little bit, or at least just try and find a little bit of a way to get different.
So I think Miami, as far as ownership, and this is kind of a guessing work, and my understanding is the ownership stuff is still kind of wonky. We're still kind of figuring it out. But I think Miami is behind Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is the first team people load in, especially because that game is first. People and they want the instant gratification, and also Miami, we're not going to have a lineup.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that probably will drop the ownership a little bit. That's a great point. So I like Miami a lot. Chisholm and Soler, I think, are arguably the best plays on the slate.
Yeah, and I see Eric in chat talking about Jorge Soler at 5.7K, and it's if that's going to chase people away, we know he's got double down potential. We know he's the guy that can win the slate. And Eric's talking about, I want to win. That's all I care about. And especially when you're playing these contests on DK, which are top heavy, that I personally shy away from. That's not really my MO. That's not where I thrive, I guess. The last I saw their contest was a 33% up top, 30K, 10K for first. And that's not really the world I like to play in. It's cool if you do, have fun and play accordingly. But people are, I don't know what his ownership's going to be as far as Soler, if he's going to be suppressed to some degree. Because you do have salary. We talked about, again, the pitching is not that expensive on DK. I don't want to say pretty clear, but to me, it's pretty clear that Valdez and Bundy are the 1-2 as far as pitchers. And you can work in Gibson, you can work in Webb. We talked about Small as a punt if you really want to open up everybody. And Lopez is, kind of too expensive, but then you embrace that, right? He's 10.1K, at least according to Lineup HQ. Now I have to jump back and confirm.
Salary is very easy to get on DK today too. It's not as irrelevant as FanDuel, but it's very easy to get to with the Miami savings and the Milwaukee savings. The more I think about it, the more I love embracing Pablo Lopez even in Coors today, because he's got probably the highest upside on the slate. He's got a big downside too, because it's in Coors, but he probably has the highest upside on the slate. You don't really need the salary. It's easy to get to. So I think Pablo Lopez is a very, maybe my favorite tournament pitcher today on DraftKings. He's not available on the early FanDuel slate. He is the afternoon, but on DK, I think he's my favorite. Now, I'm a man of my word. I am going to give a home run because we're over 20 likes, but I got to say, we got the Crunch Time crew coming in here soon. When I said 20 likes from Spidey, that was when we only had like 50 people watching. We got 140 now. So if we can get it up to 50 likes, let's do that. It's a free show sponsored by Fanduel. We got Cheese coming early in the morning, the brightest, best mind in the industry coming early in the morning to give you some baseball tips. So hit the like button. If we can get up to 50, we'll get a second Spidey bomb that is not going to be as highly owned as the first one. But the very first Spidey bomb we got going today is Rowdy Tellez is going to be hitting a bomb in Wrigley today. I do have a very, very sneaky fun one that I think I'm going to play, and I'm pretty excited to do as my way to get a little bit different today if we get to 50. But I'm only giving it if we get to 50, and I'm going to be kicked off of here soon because the crunch time guys are coming. So if we can get there quick, I got a really fun off the board Spidey bomb call today.
You're not picking an A, are you? Spider-Man's not picking an A, is he? I can't imagine.
No, he's not picking an A. But nobody's going to be playing this guy today, and I really like him as a way to get different as a one-off.
What about Jock Peterson? The new revelations you've learned about him in the last 48 hours or so.
What'd you say? Sorry.
Have you been following the Jock Peterson Tommy Pham story?
I haven't seen actually what went down there.
It's a lot to get into. We probably don't have time for it, but essentially they were in a fantasy football league together, and Tommy Pham had this disagreement with what Jock Peterson did as far as putting players on IR, on IL, and he took umbrage in that in person. Also, there's a lot to get it. There's a lot of highlights. Essentially, Jock Peterson was showing gifs of him making fun of the Padres. So we had Tommy Pham leave he left the league after like week 4 or week 5. He was upset with the way Jock Peterson was handling as a manager in his fantasy football league. But it is worth delving into. It's wild stuff. I'm shocked that you've missed all of this. You're not aware of any of it. What's going on?
I am aware that there was like a situation, but I just kind of like chose not to read into it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so Jock Peterson was also hit. Pham hit him in the face apparently pregame, and then he got suspended for 3 days. Tommy Pham, it's a wormhole that's worth going down if you like such nonsense. Everybody's fine.
Okay, sounds good. Crunch time crew, we got Grant and Cheese coming in here, and oh wow, Grant has a cool Zoom name, and I think this is the first time I've ever actually like Zoomed with Grant before, so that's pretty exciting. We're only 9 likes away from the Spidey bomb, so come on, hit that like button on YouTube so I can give it away before I get out of here.
Grant, you're going by the pseudonym that is Sir Elton Commodore. Is that who you're pretending?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Is that? And then you're wearing the uniform. That is certainly what he's known. His hat. That is his go-to hat, Sir Elton.
He's known for his nutted hats.
Grant, it's been a while. Thank you for filling in for TheLuuch. We're going to hand it off for y'all in just a second. Oh, Dave, you have plenty of time. Dave, have you come down yet for the excitement that was watching Top Gun? I saw you raving about it. It was all that it cracked up to be. I know Rotten Tomatoes loved it, and the people love it, and I'm probably taking the L.
Yeah, it's so great. I think I don't know if I'm going again today or tomorrow with some other people. It'll be at least a 3 times in the theater kind of movie. It's glorious.
Is that like how often do you go 3 times to the same movie? Can you think of any other movie you've knocked out 3 times?
I rarely go. I think the last movie that I've 3 times in the theater was Dark Knight.
Oh, it's a good one too. Yeah.
I haven't done 3 times movie in a theater for at least a couple months.
Wait, so there's a movie you've seen recently 3 times? That was not Top Gun in the theater?
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Ah, there you go. Grant, you're not a 3-time in the theater kind of guy, are you? I don't think so.
I don't think I've ever seen a movie more than twice. Oh, wait, no. The Last Samurai I saw twice because I tried to sneak into an R-rated movie, and then they checked our tickets. So then I snuck into The Last Samurai to watch the second time.
What were you trying to sneak into?
I can't remember. It was something that I never ended up seeing.
Dave, the people are excited. They want to know what a Matt Swarmer is. They want to hear you talk about Bo Brisky, a Packy Naughton. This collection of pictures, Dave.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun. We're going to hand it off to you guys. Y'all can sort of knock it out Is there any final thoughts? Grant, you have your Action Lounge show later today, but which, by the way, I'm going to be cutting it close. I may have to cancel. We'll see.
Son of a biscuit.
Well, I got to do some writing, and it's a whole thing. I'm going to do my best. I got to go because I got to start.
You can't write. You can't even read.
Yeah. Well, I got a guy. But on behalf of myself and TJ, hey, TJ, did you get the Spidey bomb or no? Did we get the 10 likes?
We're 4 likes away. I'm so disappointed that I can't give it. Like, we got Grant has a cool hat and a nicely shaved beard going. We got Cheese here, and we can't get 4 more likes. I'm disappointed because I really, really liked this sneaky one-off today, but that's all right. Grant, we've never done a show together. Grant, we've never done a show together before. We got to fix that.
Yeah, no, I've been mostly a gambling man recently.
Well, let's step aside and make way for Dave Potts, for Grant. You guys got to go around the horn. We didn't go around. Well, of course, you're going to go around the horn. We had a kind of a large overarching conversation. Oh, go ahead.
Spidey's here. Spidey's back. He's ready to tell us who the sneaky one-off Spidey bomb play today is. Harrison Bader is going to hit a home run.
Oh. Is that because of the Star Wars tie-in? Or
Bader? No, just because he's going to hit a home run. It has nothing to do with the tie-in. It's Spidey knows who is going to put the ball over the fence, and that's who's going to do it today.
Yes, that was what I was referencing. Star Wars fans seem to like Harrison Bader a good bit. But all right, myself and TJ, we're going to step aside and make way for the FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time, starring Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. Cheeseisgood. Also, Grant is here.
That's Sir Elton Commodore to you, Dean.
Sir Elton Commodore, yes. I want to hear the backstory on that as well. But all right, we're going to step aside. Grant, Dave.
Backstory is just I put in a name and it was Sir Elton Commodore. That's it. It's not from anything else.
Oh, okay.
But I am knighted.
Grant, you're hosting. It's all you.
All right, get out here, Daniel. All right, well, now we're on Crunch Time, and I believe this is a free cut Crunch Time, and I believe it is sponsored by FanDuel. You can sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state, and new users get $1,000 risk-free bet. And get this, FanDuel Sportsbook users that take advantage of this will receive their bonus after their first-time bet. And if you have not actually, have you signed up for any legal sports betting sites, Cheese?
It's not available here yet.
Yeah, well, I know you cross borders to place bets at random times.
Yeah, so we don't have, it's not in Georgia either, so that's where I would cross to go. So not yet.
I haven't made a trip up to Nashville yet to put some gambling in.
No, I guess next time I go. So you can, if you just go every once in a while, you can sign up and go ahead and play while you're there. Is that how that works?
Yep. Yeah. No, pretty much. I mean, so for my honeymoon, like, and different websites have different rules, but you can get the sign up. I just went up to Wyoming Friday or Thursday or whatever and signed up for MGM Wyoming, got the $1,000 risk-free bet. And then they, of course, limited me to oblivion the next day because that's what they do. But yeah, like, you can sign up for MGM, Caesars, and a lot of other ones, any given place. But FanDuel is available on all those sites, and you don't have to redeposit, which makes it not much of a pain to just place bets there. But yeah, FanDuel Sportsbook. It's pretty solid there. I got some bets on the FanDuel Sportsbook today. I haven't done a ton of DFS because I've been making a lot of home run bets, a lot of them.
Today is so interesting for those home runs, especially.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And
goodness gracious, yeah.
I mean, we couldn't have picked a better day for the Cubs to be in a doubleheader because there's going to be a lot of home runs, especially against. Yeah, I guess we'll just break right into things.
Yeah, let's do this. Segues nicely.
Yeah, well, let's talk about pitching. And I mean, I feel like there's 3-4 pitchers you can use and maybe 5. That's it. Like, there's not a time when we have Naughton. We have 2 guys making their first starts in Chicago with 25-mile-per-hour winds. So go ahead and talk to me about what you're doing with pitching on this slate.
Yeah, so I guess we got to kind of break it up too, because we've got, so DraftKings has a 6-game early, and then we've got sort of 2 small FanDuel early slates. Just putting it all into one bucket on the DraftKings slate, and then you can split it up as needed for the 2 FanDuel slates. Like, Framber Valdez is just kind of it. Like, I think I think you just have to play him. He's kind of the only actual air quotes safe pitcher, period. Those ground balls are they're so good. He's just piling up quality starts, just like they're going out of style. I have 100% Valdez, and I would have more if they let me. It's not that he's amazing. It's just goodness. Like Dylan Bundy. I mean, yeah, he's facing the Tigers. Me and you would be in play against the Tigers as pitchers, but
probably more you.
It's still Dylan Bundy. I mean, he is I'll say the go-to SP2 because there's so many cheap bats. Like salary hardly matters really. But so Pablo Lopez is better at pitching than Dylan Bundy for sure. But he's in cores, whereas Bundy has got Detroit. And that's why you see that huge difference in the projected ownership. I have a little bit of Lopez just because it doesn't take much for him to be the second highest scoring pitcher on this slate. And it's just not hard to get one of those two guys, even though they're overpriced. The cheap stuff. So it's Logan Webb and Kyle Gibson mostly. But speaking of weather, I'm going to pull up the Weather Edge page here. Like all the talk is about this Cubs game, as it should be. But if you scroll down and look at both the St. Louis game and the Phillies game, where you've got this Logan Webb, Kyle Gibson, it's just as home run friendly. And the Phillies, that's a home run ballpark more than Wrigley to begin with. So I really don't like Gibson and Webb here too much either. I'm definitely on the Webb side where you can keep the ball on the ground. And then we do have nonsense Ethan Small at 4K. And he probably gives up a bunch of home runs and gets shelled. But if this was a neutral ballpark or no wind blowing out, Ethan Small would be the chalk SP2. He is kind of a strikeout, not even kind of, he's a strikeout pitcher who probably walks too many guys and probably gives up home runs. So I don't officially like it because you don't really need it.
He wasn't a terrible fly ball guy in the minors.
Yeah.
He had a 56% ground ball rate in Milwaukee. And a ground ball can never leave the yard. I don't think a ground ball could leave the yard.
That would be hard.
Yeah, it does make it interesting. Like if he can just land only having one, maybe two home runs, he can get enough strikeouts to get there.
Yeah.
Just hoping that no one's on base, which with his walk rate is going to be tough. I don't know. It does seem interesting just because the slate is just bonkers. Yeah. But yeah,
it's really just a matter of you can't even hardly spend the salary today going down there because there's so many cheap bats. You could load up. You could go with, Soler, Jazz, Machado, Harper. You can load up if you want to, but the Milwaukee and Cubs bats are so cheap. You hardly need the money, basically.
Yeah. So you want to just break right into hitting because we got way too many guys to talk about that are good plays.
Yep.
All right, let's start off with the catcher. Obviously, there is Coors, there is Chicago, there's good hitting weather all over the place. We have tons of money to spend. Are you just going up with Contreras?
Yes, he's the far and away best play. Narvaez is super cheap and also a great play. But Contreras is the guy, I think, even if you're not doing any sort of Cub stack, you could build a lineup of one-offs today with all the home runs, or if you're stacking something else and just need one-offs, Contreras is the guy that doesn't need anyone else paired with him. I think that's kind of the ideal spend up.
Yeah, no, and I bet him to hit home run at plus 360 over at Fanduel, our sponsors there. So yeah, it's written up over on Scores and Odds. If you haven't already checked it out, go over there, get signed up. We're winning money. But yeah, Contreras is the main guy, and then if you need the money, it's Narvaez. That's it. I'm right there with you. It's pretty much it. Catcher, super simple today. Go ahead and tell me first base. We're looking at Wrigley again.
Yeah, so Rowdy's in such a great spot. I'm extremely interested to see what actually happens with Coors Field ownership. I kind of think nobody's going to play anything in this game. Especially like the lineup's not even out when the slate locks. And like, we're showing Cooper up there in ownership with Rowdy. I don't think it's going to look like that. I think it's going to be all the Rowdy. And then I think Schwindel will be almost as popular as the two Marlins. So I do kind of like the Marlins, except my next favorite bat other than Rowdy's is actually Goldschmidt. I really do like picking out some power bats in the Padres Cardinals and the Giants Phillies game. So like I prefer Goldie over Crone if you're going to spend up at first, with Rowdy being the very obvious best optimal play.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a little bit sense to go with Goldschmidt. I mean, Weatherhead showing a 50% increase in home runs over in that Cardinals game. And I mean, not a huge sample size, but all the weather conditions look good. So whether it'll be 50% or something like that, it's still just as much of an increase. So getting Goldschmidt at less ownership is just a solid way to pivot off of the clear chalk and Tellez, and even Crone and Cooper are going to draw some ownership. Let's move on to second base here.
Oh, there was one other thing to mention at first base. Because of Tellez, I don't think anyone's going to play Keston Hiura. So you can actually get on that Brewers team while avoiding chalk, just because they're both just only eligible at first on DraftKings.
Yeah, and they're pretty much the same price, or Hiura's a little bit cheaper, but you don't really need the $1,000 price saving from Rowdy. So I like that call. Second base, we going Coors or we going Chicago?
So this is the place I do think Coors gets the ownership. Like the one spot that people are going to plug in the expensive guy is with Jazz here. I like Christopher Morel more than Colton Wong, I guess, just because Wong isn't like the priority Brewers bat. I mean, I like him plenty. So this is kind of like with first base where, you would say Rowdy's the kind of obvious play. I do think Jazz is the right play here, just sort of optimal if you're making one lineup and just trying to score the most points without regards to stacking or ownership or anything. I think it's Jazz. And I don't like the high-end pivots nearly as much, but I do really like a low-end pivot with Nolan Gorman. Again, you don't really need salary, except at some point, if you want to do like Bundy or Lopez with Valdez, at some point you do. And I prefer going to Gorman, basically spending down to be different at second versus spending up to be different at first.
Yeah, don't mind that. I mean, it's tough to go wrong today on this slate. Let's move on over to the third base, where I bet Wisdom to hit a home run at plus 320 over at Fanduel, I believe. He's going yard today. Am I wrong?
No, those are good numbers. Getting plus 300 on those Cubs, right? He's like Wisdom in particular. He's going to hit the ball in the air. So yeah, I love him. The two guy, well, it's more than two. I do think you can throw Ryan McMahon in. I don't really like the Rockies. I don't think they're going to get much play from anyone, but I do like McMahon a little bit. But so Manny Machado and Arenado in that game both look, it's similar to the Goldschmidt play. It's just you're spending up.
Have you seen Arenado's projected ownership? I
would assume it's very low. We had to show him under 1%.
Under 2%.
Okay. I didn't update that, but yeah, both, Machado and Arenado both just can't be popular. And I love them. Play Patrick Wisdom, but, and Chase Peterson is very cheap in that game. Pay up to be different. That's another position I like doing it.
All right. Moving on to shortstop here. Are we going Coors or are we going Milwaukee?
Here we're going Milwaukee. I think Urias is clearly the play that I want to focus on. There's nothing sneaky at all about that. But like the Coors bats here don't really excite me. Rojas is not the Marlin you want to focus on. Brandon Crawford kind of interests me. like I do think the Giants are that other team along with St. Louis that if some random team is going to go nuts and outscore a 12-run Brewers or Marlins game, I could see it being the Giants. It's not the likely case. Like Gibson is not a terrible pitcher, but they got a bunch of power lefties. And again, the weather edge is saying it's the same thing in Philly as all these other games. So give me some Crawford, but really Urias is far and away the guy here.
Yep. All right, moving on to outfield. I already bet Yelich to hit a home run at I think it was plus 390, which is just seems like silly odds today. And I mean, I think you can go with home run bets on most of those guys like Taylor. I think you can throw a home run bet on him. Just pretty much anyone playing in that game who can get the ball in the air is going to go yard. But I mean, are you just stacking up the Milwaukee outfielders or?
So the first build is Yelich and Taylor for sure. And then you're it gets a little tricky. You can spend up for Soler in the Coors game. I think he'll be the most popular Coors outfielder. You could spend up for Harper or even Alvarez, very off the board. Houston will be just forgotten completely. And I don't love them. But low-owned Alvarez, it's similar to low-owned Arenado or Machado or something. I do like all the outfielders in the Phillies-Giants game. Schwarber, Jock, Yaz. But the short answer is, play Yelich and Taylor and then like a cheap Cub like Frazier or Morel or something. You can goof around as much as you want, but you're giving up a lot not to play something from that Wrigley game. And you don't have to just completely stack it. I mean, you can play Taylor on his own or Clint Frazier just to get a cheap guy and then spend up with like a Harper Soler or something like that. The problem with this slate overall is every single one of these games has so much obvious upside that it's dart throwing in a good way. Like some days we're throwing darts just like hoping to get something good. Today it's like everything's good. The chalk is fantastic, but there's plenty of fantastic stuff that's not chalk. So I'm not really over the field, I would say, on Brewers, just because I like enough other stuff. But very obviously, it's the most likely team to hit the most home runs, which is what scores the most DFS points.
I've heard home runs are better than singles. Is that true? I've
also heard that. I can neither confirm nor deny, but as far as I know, a home run gets you more points than a single by a lot.
Well, that's good to know. Just dropping some good knowledge there. I'm currently trying to build a lineup really quickly while we're on this show. We'll see if I can actually get it done because I've just been busy gambling. But we gotta get to some questions, guys. Any questions you have, go ahead and throw them onto chat. And we'll get to them as soon as we can or throughout the show. Are you ready to go ahead and answer some questions? Or
yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, let's start it off. DK Cash, Peterson and Soler or Wisdom Morel?
So let me pause and step back and say, at no point did I even really think about how you would build a cash lineup on this kind of slate. I think you have to prioritize the Wrigley game over the Coors game in cash, except so much more on the Brewers side. Like, I'm not sure that I love the Cubs side
outside
for cash.
Contreras.
Contreras for sure, but they strike out. Small should strike people out. I think I would say Peterson Soler for cash. But again, I honestly hadn't thought about a cash build. My lean would just be you want the Brewers, but you don't necessarily want the non-Contreras Cubs.
Yeah. Let's see. QQ Detroit stat because I do crazy things from Eric Johnson. 1% owned versus Bundy.
Yeah, it's so yes, because it's Bundy. But no, because you're also getting essentially unowned Padres, Cardinals, Giants, Phillies, Astros, even Rockies. Like, I'm not sure the Rockies will be that much more owned than the Tigers. Like, it really is that bizarre of a slate. So I didn't end up with a Tiger stack personally.
All right. QQ, can you ask Cheese if you can play Blackburn versus the Trastros, which I believe is a play on words of the Astros?
I see what's going on there. Goodness. So the reason you maybe can is because there's no other good pitchers besides Valdez, but I don't want a low strikeout pitcher against the Astros. So I wouldn't say it's just the worst thing in the world. I personally have 0.
Yeah, and we don't have guys throw your questions on there, and again, try and get to them, but we don't really have any questions right now. What do you think about just like if I were mass multi-entering right now? I think that just because of Coors and the Cubs game, I would pretty much only stack the Giants and the Phillies game, or Giants game.
Giants, Phillies, and Cardinals, Padres.
Yeah. I mean, you sold me pretty well. Like the weather edge says it's just as good a spot as the Cubs. You don't really need too much money. You can make it work very easily. You're getting super low owned studs that are probably better players than you're getting in the Cubs game. So, I mean, what do you think about just potentially stacking those games up every which way and kind of going all or nothing, avoiding Coors and Cubs?
Honestly, I love it. I mean, I really do. Like, it's going to be so difficult to win anything with like a Miami-Milwaukee combo. And the thing is, you can get so many home runs from all these games. And I'm like, I like what you just said. And that's the way I'm viewing it. Like, the players are actually better in the other games. The Cardinals, the Padres, the Phillies, and the Giants are all better, at least than the Cubs and the Marlins and the Rockies. And this current Brewers lineup is kind of borderline. So yes, I would say play. I would go Cardinals and Giants and then Padres and Phillies. And you're different with really good teams. The other thing you can do that I did a few times is go ahead and full stack one of those teams, go Cardinals or Giants or Phillies, and then, use a couple of one-offs. You're going to see home runs in that game. Play Wisdom, Yelich, and Soler around one of the other stacks. I don't think if you're going off the board with a stack, don't feel like you have to go crazy with the one-offs. Like, you're allowed to play Yelich rather than getting sneaky with Alvarez if you're already sneaky with your stack.
Yeah. Eric asking who are my top home run picks of the day. So I bet Soler to hit home run plus 285 over Bet Rivers. Great spot. I bet Salvador Perez, not even on the slate, but to hit home run plus 295. And then Tellez, Wisdom, Contreras, Yelich, all between like 320 and 390, which, I mean, I pretty much do this anytime there's a Wrigley game. I just look for the guys that hit the ball up in there because I mean, I could hit a home run in Wrigley right now, and I'm not great because 20-mile-an-hour winds are just ridiculous. And I'm probably doing the same thing as soon as I get lineups for the next game, I'm hitting all these same home run props again, just because there is no bigger advantage in all of sports than betting home run props in Wrigley win games. It's just incredible. So,
Grant, because I'm not on a sports betting side, riddle me this: like, are the odds adjusted at all for the weather, or like what would the odds be with no weather on a home run for these guys?
Odds would be probably around plus 500, maybe plus 450. But still, like I think it's more. I know Weather Edge says a 50% increase in home run. I think it's more than that. Like,
if we're getting gusts there, like that's one of those. Like the Weather Edge is going to say the steady winds are. If we click to the Weather Edge, the steady winds are at 19 miles an hour, and that's where that 45%. But if you get gusts up to 25, 30, like in those gusty times, it would be way higher than that 45% boost. Yeah, no, it's just silly how much it helps. I mean, I'm a golfer. I golfed in
20-mile-per-hour winds yesterday. Going into the wind, my average drive is like 250. Wind at my back, it's 330 probably was my average. So it's an 80-yard difference. It's a 20-30% difference in terms of ball flight distance. I know baseballs are a little bit harder. It's obviously a little bit different, but you see, like, you watch the barrel reports and you see so many lucky hits that turn into home runs during these wind games. Like, you get a 35-mile-an-hour gust of wind and it's taking a clear out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting how much it helps. And I think Vegas has caught on a little bit, but not nearly enough. And people who bet home runs are generally losing a lot of money because a lot of them aren't great bets, but you find a few gems every once in a while. And strange enough, a lot of the times they're at the lower odds, so like plus 300, plus 350, plus 390, compared to the ones that you're betting just plus 1,000, which are oftentimes awful bets. But got more questions. We got Machado versus Arenado.
I'm going to go Arenado just because, like, Machado missed this weekend with an elbow injury, and that's just enough. He's probably fine because he's playing, but it's tennis elbow. I didn't even know the guy played tennis, but that's just enough of a difference to make me say Arenado first, Machado second.
All right. Anyone stacking the cards? Godley loves playing on Memorial Day.
Absolutely stack the cards.
Yeah. People like in Blackburn for some reason. Again, that's going up against a low strikeout, pretty good team with a low strikeout pitcher. I mean, he may make it clean with 6 innings, but even if he does, that you're still not getting a ton of upside. Yes, the ownership is going to be a lot lower, but it seems silly. QQ, is Jock going a yard today?
Yeah. If he stays in the game the whole game, he's going yard at least twice. They seem to just love pinch hitting for him, but even so, yes, he's definitely going yard.
I mean, the Giants love pinch hitting for everyone.
Yeah, and he gets it worse than anyone because he can't really field either. Like, Yaz is a better fielder than him, so that they tend to, take Jock out first. But yes, he's absolutely going yard today.
All right, GPP last man in: Jordan, Yelich, or Jock?
I mean, it's definitely Yelich if you're not overly concerned with the ownership. I would go Yelich first, and then Jock, and then Alvarez.
Yeah, and also I think depends, like, if you're stacking up Milwaukee, like how big the field is. But yeah, I mean, Yelich is going yard today. Like Gary said, I've already bet it. Checking. I don't think we have any more questions. Any thoughts you want to get off your chest while we're wasting time until more questions?
No, I'm just really starting to think about what's for lunch. I'm by myself today. Everyone's gone, and I don't really know that I'm supposed to grill for one person. So, it's time to start thinking about lunch. Really, any recommendations? I will take them.
I mean, you can grill up a steak. That's a one-person meal.
Certainly is. That would require me going to get a steak. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, what I do is I have a sous vide. I just always have 4 to 5 vacuum sealed steaks. Throw them in there frozen, sous vide for an hour and a half. Throw in a cast iron. Simple, real simple.
It's actually possible that I have a couple in the freezer.
Yeah. Do you have a sous vide?
I don't even understand what you're saying right now.
It's literally means warm bath. I think it's where you put.
I have a bathtub. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, you probably could put the steak in a bathtub. Just got to keep the temperature right. Pretty much the same thing. Just have to sit there and monitor it for an entire hour.
I am absolutely putting the steak in a bathtub today. What a holiday weekend that will be.
Best team for a single entry GPP on DK.
I'm gonna say Cardinals.
I like it. Top pitcher on DK.
Valdez.
Is Castali or Bart going to be starting for the Giants?
No way to know until we see the lineup. I will say Casali, but we just don't know until they tell us.
Yeah, we got a Rockies lineup about 5 minutes ago. I wasn't paying attention, but looks like it's pretty much what we thought it would be. Servin is catching. If you had to play one, Contreras or Schwindel on FanDuel?
Contreras.
All right. Is Feltner a viable pivot off of Webb in large field DK GPPs?
I mean, viable, sure. Like he does have strikeout ability. Like, I don't really know why you would, but sure. Like, it's the kind of slate where any nonsense that maybe Blackburn that people are talking about probably gets like 3 strikeouts. Feltner could strike out 8 batters. It's not like out of the realm of possibility. So I'll say sure. I'll allow it.
All right. Andrew McCutchen over 6.5 fantasy hitting points for the second game. I think so. Like,
oh yeah,
he's going up against Smiley. McCutchen has some of the best numbers going up against lefties. Like,
and it looks like
stronger.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It looks like it's going to be even better tonight. So, I mean, yeah, if you can get an over on McCutchen right now, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially at 6.5. QQ, Oakland Detroit stack wins the slate. I kind of doubt that.
I mean, again, like Detroit could absolutely score some runs. The whole problem is everything other than Coors and Wrigley is so underowned. Like it's not, you're really not getting any ownership relevance from playing Detroit and Oakland.
Yeah. Like it's just, you can get Philly, you can get San Diego, you can get the Giants all at slightly more ownership and like 20 times more likely to win the slate. It just doesn't make sense to me playing Oakland or Detroit. But I mean, unless there was like 100,000 person contest with $1 million up top, then there's no real point in doing that. Have you ever grilled a pizza?
Grilled a pizza? No, I certainly have not.
No, I mean, you can get a pizza stone and then you just heat it up and
like you grill it from frozen, or
you can grill from. I've smoked a pizza before, like just throw it in the smoke, put the smoker at 400, throw it in there, and tastes a little bit better. It's just I'm lazy and generally want my pizza quicker than that. It takes like twice as long, but
I'm definitely getting some interesting ideas today. Steak in the bathtub, pizza on the grill. Like, I mean, I never knew these were things I should be thinking about.
You could write a song like about that. I would listen to you sing about pizza or steak in the bathtub, pizza on the grill.
Yeah, that's definitely a good country song, at least.
Yeah.
Steaks in the bathtub, pizza on the grill. Yeah. Oh, it's coming.
I'm super excited for it now. We don't have anything. I have no idea what I'm going to eat. I may have gone a little bit hard on Memorial Day on the golf course yesterday, or on Sunday on the golf course yesterday. And so I'm definitely a little slower than I should be. But
we got a Philly lineup and looks pretty normal. Schwarber, Harper, Mickey Moniak is in there.
Good old Mickey. Gosh, so many great names on this.
Instead of Alec Bohm. So there you go.
Yeah. Someone's talking about baking a steak. I mean, why? Like, I like a good char on the outside of my steak. I don't know. Baking ribs is pretty solid. Do you ever bake ribs?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is absolutely pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big ribs guy. The problem now is like most of the time when I eat ribs, it's for breakfast. Because with my beard, I pretty much have to shower afterwards. Like, so I plan it around my showers.
Yeah.
But ribs for breakfast is pretty solid.
Any time of day, any type of meal, snack, whatever. Yeah.
Gosh, I might have to go buy some ribs now. Gosh, I'm hungry. Oh man, I could use some food. I think we got like 30 seconds to lock, and it doesn't look like we really have any questions. So we'll wait here. And then get out of here in a minute. Do you put butter on a steak? Depends on how healthy I'm trying to be. Butter absolutely makes it better.
To me, it depends on how good the steak is. If the steak is fantastic, I don't put anything on it. Like if it's the best steak in the world is just so good already. But if it needs a little something, yeah.
Generally the best steak in the world is good because of butter.
Well, that's probably true. As far as me being able to make it on my own, I would probably need butter to make it good enough to say it didn't need butter, in which case then it actually, as it turns out, did need butter. I'm thinking more of adding it to an already existing steak that's been made for you that may have actually been made with some butter that you don't know about.
Oh yeah, every single steakhouse, every single place, like Bourdain said it, the difference between making a steak at home and making a steak, eating a steak in a restaurant is they put butter before, butter after. I love getting good truffle butter on top of the steak afterwards as a finish. And like butter just makes everything so much better. And you just don't realize how much butter places are using whenever you go out to eat, because it's like just tubs of butter on pretty much everything. That's why the Cheesecake Factory is so good, because pretty much everything you eat has like a pound of butter in it.
Butter Factory. Yeah. Butter is delicious. And you're right. I don't really have a concept of how much butter is going on the food that I'm already eating that makes it so good. But I certainly know that I wouldn't be stunned or care if it was just a ton of butter, because it's delicious.
Yeah. I don't care if I die young, as long as I'm enjoying life, which butter makes life better. But I think that should pretty much do it. Any last minute thoughts before we get on out of here?
Just don't get too excited when you're winning early. There's going to be scoring all day and all night. And we'll be back to talk about the nighttime scoring later on. So go have some fun, eat some buttered up steak, and then check back in 5 or so hours, and we'll do it again.
Yeah. Also, live locks with me and maybe Daniel, if he can get his stuff done because he's lazy, is in about 50 minutes. So
okay,
go check it out over at the Scores and Odds channel.
You got time to go throw steak in the bathtub and get back for that.
Yeah. Just got to make sure it's the right temperature. Got to monitor that bathtub water. Don't want a tepid steak
right
from the bathtub. But thanks for joining me, Cheese. Thanks for carrying the show. It's been fun. We're out of here. See you, kids.